Okay, Coach, why don't you had a couple days to look at the film from Windsor. Tell us what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, pretty good game. I thought our defense did an outstanding job, keeping Kennedy in the pocket and limiting his ability to connect with his number one target, Chris Casey. I thought that was a pretty good job there. I thought offensively we did some things extremely well. The goal going into the game was to make sure we don't leave our defense in the lurch, give them a short field. Some of you media types should be aware of what the goals are before you start analyzing the game, because when we get to the day around here where we can turn our noses up at a 500-yard offensive performance, that's a pretty good day. There'll be a lot of teams like to do that. We had a couple of things happen. We fumbled the ball at the end there, which really kind of, 24-7 is a good win. 31-7 is, it's funny, one score, and it was a terrific drive too. And we also had a terrific drive that ended in a field goal. We ran the ball 5 or 6 times in a row, advanced the ball 65 yards, which is very, very hard to do. And then, unfortunately, on 3rd and 3, we run a play and we just fall about 1.5 yards short. It was one of those deals where, a guy slipped through there and made the tackle. So, if you pass the ball on 2nd and 3 when you just run it 6 times, for positive yardage, if anything goes wrong on the pass, it could cause, a loss of confidence there. So I decided to stick with what was working, and unfortunately, you're running the ball 7 times in a row and packing it in there is it's tough, because one guy slips off a block and stops you short, and those things happen. But anyway, we got the field goal, managed the field extremely well, so much so that, we had Windsor hemmed in a couple of times, and all they could do was yield safety touches because we had pushed them back in there and helped them there. So pretty good job overall. A couple of terrific special teams plays. I thought the fake punt to Jesse Andrews worked extremely well. I mean, that was very close to the first or second series. I think it was the first series of the game. So caught them napping a little bit. When those things happen to you, there's always a little bit of shock value. I thought Johnny Aprele's return on the wide field goal was tremendous. It was outstanding. So they pressured us a little bit more than perhaps we had thought. I mean, what they had demonstrated in previous weeks, they were playing a type of umbrella coverage, soft, etc. So they pressured us a little bit more, so that forced us to take some shots up the field. Bill was successful on some of them. We were just a hair off on a couple of others. I really thought that if we had, connected on just maybe 2 or 3 more plays, the outlook and the score would have been completely different. So overall, I thought we played pretty well. We didn't want to sort of come away from this road trip, saying, well, the length of the road trip to this, to that. Some guys didn't have their best games down there, and that road trip does have an impact on you sometimes. But overall, I was very pleased with the effort and glad to be back.
And so what do you expect to see this week against Guelph?
A very good team, well coached. One of the things that's hard to overlook preparing for this game is that they're plus 11 in turnovers. So I know they kind of got Western wounded. They had a fairly unmanageable quarterback situation there. That's an enviable, opportunity there to catch Western like that. But they still, were Johnny on the spot. I think they had 4 or 5 interceptions, a couple of fumbles. And the previous week, they also had 3 interceptions against Laurier and nabbed a fumble. The only game this team is really against Toronto. They fumbled the ball 6 times and lost 5 of them, and nearly lost to Toronto as a result. So, I mean, it's an old adage that it's very, very difficult to win football games if you don't win the turnover ratio. So, one of the areas that we're very cognizant of. Now, we've had a couple of turnovers in the last few weeks, but they've largely been. That was a pretty prolific interception the kid made in Windsor. He batted the ball. He actually batted it and was able to, catch it. That was one of those situations, a deflected ball. The previous week against Ottawa, we had a similar situation. Then we had, in the Western game, we had one bounce off a shoulder. So it was We kind of had a couple of, I would say, unlucky interceptions there, which are kind of skewing Bill's touchdown to interception ratio. However, I mean, Bill is operating pretty good. We'd set a goal, and it was a lofty goal too, to go from 50% passing completion percentage to 65. To improve 15% in 1 year is considerable. Right now, he's at 62 with 2 games to go. You know, so his goal is very much within striking distance. And so overall, should be a great game. 2 teams, both really good defenses. So, you know, we have some challenges. They've got a very mobile quarterback. You know, I'd like to think that we have a few challenges for them also. And so it should be a great game.
Okay. Glenn?
Sorry to be late, folks.
Your tardiness was noted.
I'm sure.
I was buying a thesaurus, I said.
Comic books. Talk to me about the Guelph defense. I mean, they're 5-1, but they gave up 50 points to Mac and 39 to Western.
Yeah, well, I remember that was first game, Mac, huh? They also went out to Saskatchewan, apparently, and put on a very credible performance. I'm not sure that the score was ever posted, but they're claiming victory. So, you know, for them to go out there early like that on 4 or 5 days of practice and claim to have beaten Saskatchewan out there at any time, I think speaks well for you. I thought that in the McMaster game, they looked like they were just completely, you know, unprepared to sort of play at that level. It was early. Their quarterback got in sync early. I think they had a number of turnovers. They had some protection issues. I think in that game they had 3 first-year offensive linemen playing in their first CIS game against, you know, against that team. That's bound to create a few problems. I think they've progressed throughout the season from there. They haven't lost a ball game since that one, and I thought that they turned in a gutsy performance against Western. You know, took advantage of some fortuitous opportunities and converted them to scores. And then when it looked like the lugs were loosened and coming off the wheel, they managed to hang on and put together a couple of late drives, kicked just enough field goals, those 2 field goals. They actually had to come from behind to win this one. So they had 2, they managed the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game extremely well. So I think they're a good team. I think they're a good team. They've got a good-sized defensive front and, you know, big on the D-line, athletic at linebacker, and pesky at DB.
Sounds like your own team.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, perhaps an argument is there. The records are the same. You know, this will be a major test for both clubs. Both offenses are up against it this week. I mean, the team that can move the ball, you know, more consistently and error-free, and then not create a big turnover that sort of is a game changer, you know, may well be the victor. One of the things that Coach Tracy noticed is that they've put together a capacity to put together extended drives, you know, 6, 7, 8 play drives, you know, is what creates opportunities for this team. So, and that's good offense when you can do that consistently. I mean, you can control the clock. I think that their clock management, I think their time of possession is very close to ours, so it's interesting.
The 3 aspects of the game last week, it sounded like, again, you guys were a little better with all 3. Does that springboard you into, I mean, positively?
Well, it's the right time of year to start getting better. I thought that, you know, for the kids that were playing, certainly on the punt cover team, there was an explosion play created by the punt cover team where we ran the fake, which was good. Our protection was very good. Our young punter, he was, I think, 39.75. I thought Windsor's punter was pretty good. He turned in 6 or 7 punts at a 41-yard average, so I thought he was pretty good, and I thought he got great hang time. I thought we did a pretty good job at our returns. You know, we were missing Chris Patrician last week and Alex Carroll, and so Justin Chapdelaine went back there and did a credible job on returns. You know, so I thought that we did well there. And of course, to get the big wide field goal return by Aprile, it was a 75 or 80 yard return. I thought that was really good. I would have liked to have seen that be converted into points, but the one thing it did do was won us back the field. So that when we gave the ball, and the goal going into this game was to make sure as often as possible to make sure that Austin Kennedy several times we got the ball deep, and the offense managed to get it out over at least to midfield, and kick it back and make sure they get a long field, and the defense did a good job.
You mentioned goal for this game.
Well, they're going to be similar. This kid, he would remind you a little bit of Justin Dunk, the way he runs around. I mean, he's a good athlete. He can throw on the run. He would give you, he would be a lot like Austin Kennedy was last year. I think, truth be known, I don't think Kennedy's 100% healthy, because he's obviously not running around the way he did. There was a rumor that he got nicked up in the Montreal exhibition game. And it did not appear as though he was able to sort of trot around the field the way he has in the past. So that just made him a pure pocket passer. Our goal was to keep him in the pocket, make him throw. You don't see this guy stand in the pocket, for 1003, 1004 and make the big throw. He's more, 1001, 1002, then he's gone, he's out of there. They've got a multiple movement system. They got all kinds of bodies flying across there. The offensive coordinator, Todd Galloway, is a Laurier product, so a lot of the movement that you see from them would remind you of what they did at Laurier several years ago. They do have a couple of good receivers, solid back, a little bit younger on the offensive line than they have been in previous years. So I'm sure that they're very mindful of that. But, some real challenges for our defense. Our defense, fortunately, is operating at a very high level currently. They're playing with a lot of confidence. All three units, the force unit is tremendous. The linebackers are very, very solid, and the DBs are athletic. So they're a formidable group out there. We need them, for the rest of the season to be, to play to their potential. The fact that they're playing well is not a surprise. We had great expectations for that group of kids, and they're delivering, there's no question. The offense continues to progress. We had a 200-yard rusher last week. I couldn't tell from reading some of the reports on the game whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. Most of the time when you report 200 yards rushing, it's supposed to be a good thing. And if you commit to 31 carries, he better get half the yards or else you're wasting your time. But that's for greater minds than mine. Okay. So I think we're coming right along. We're operating in the 60-plus range on completions, and would like to see us hit a few of those big aerials. But every other critic I have tells me, make sure the quarterback doesn't throw the ball deep. So tough to complete those big aerials there when you've got so many experts in your area. So.
But the experts don't bother you, Coach?
No, they don't.
Obviously this game went we saw second place in the other way. How important do you think it is to get the bye and home field advantage in the Abs?
The bye is good. Okay, the bye is good for anybody. Okay, in particular here, we have heavy academic schedules to deal with in a lot of cases. We have a lot of kids that are in high academic programs, so getting that bye, that weekend off, all right, and then you also have a practice week that's a little bit more forgiving, let's say. You're kind of concentrating on improving yourself more than anything else. You're still not sure who you're going to play against. Also, there's the benefit of being able to have some guys mend up a little bit. So if you do happen to incur a couple of injuries here down the stretch, getting that extra week off might put us in good. So everybody understands the benefits to the bye. However, okay, on the not as a counterpoint, but as an aside, the way the mathematics are shaping up here, it looks like we're going to end up playing Guelph game in the next round. Okay, so sometime in the next couple of weeks, we're likely going to be playing against them again. All right, so it's just a matter of whether this is for home field advantage. If everything plays out, the way most people think it will. And I think mathematically I don't see how it could change because both teams have secured 5 victories. So it's just a matter of who's going to visit who, okay, and who has to play the quarterfinal round. So those are the sort of, benefits that are on the table. Get the extra week's rest, an opportunity to perhaps tinker with your own system a little bit, when you have some time to do so. And then here at Queens, being able to allow our student athletes, maybe a little bit more time, at midterm time and assignment time, just so that we can clear the way for the rest of the playoffs. Would be good.
How important do you think your depth has been lately with the recent injuries?
Yeah, I think it's been good. You know, you've seen a lot of guys. I'll tell you what, some teams, if they had lost some of the impact players we've had, lost them, they would be, you know, they'd be in dire straits, whereas, you know, we missed their performances, but, you know, we've had some good football players sit out games, important games too, and other guys stepped up and did a good job. So I think that, you know, building a football team is a process that really takes years to do. And, you know, the whole idea of recruiting a group of guys there to be able to fill in when the opportunity arises is a considerable amount of work. And, you know, there was a lot of people who contributed just sort of the building of this group, okay, not to be forgotten are, you know, Ryan McManus and Ryan Sheahan, the job that they did, you know, helping to, you know, secure, you know, this group, and Coach Tracy as our recruiting coordinator, and the other assistant coaches who have contributed as well, and a very hard-working and diligent identification group also. We've got a couple of guys here that are sort of retired professionals who've taken up the charge of identifying players on our behalf. They've traveled from coast to coast in some cases to identify players and you know, be a catalyst in the recruitment process. So, you know, it's a major operation, and you know, it's not an accident that we're where we are.
Can you update us on some of the players that have been out of the lineup? Justin Baronitis, Scott McIntyre.
Coming along. You know,
Ready to play yet?
close. So I'd say it's day to day with those guys. You know,
Carroll?
if this were, Carroll, another one very close. If this were a playoff game, I would say, and of course there's an argument that it is a playoff game, but if this were an elimination game, those guys would probably all be green-lighted. I would say currently they're day to day.
Mike?
Coach, what about Keys against Guelph?
Well, this is a game that I think our offense, you know, can't lose the ball game. Okay, and by that I mean go out there and force it. Interceptions, fumbles at the wrong time in this game will hand the advantage, you know, in a big way over to our opponent. So their own theory over the last couple of weeks has been a good one, and that's that they are way up front in terms of the turnover ratio. As I mentioned before, I think they're either plus 10 or plus 11. And I think the two teams that, I mean, Laurier lost to them by a field goal, and Western lost by a field goal as well. And then when you go back and sort of look at the game's obituary, you know, you'll see that, you know, turnovers were highly contributory to the woes there. So this team is good around the football. You know, do they miss tackles? They do. Do they blow coverages? They do. Okay, but one of the things they also do is they grab errant balls, and contested balls, they seem to come down with it. They've got some of those defensive backs that they have obviously were receivers in another life, or perhaps their high school careers, because they're pretty heady around the ball. And one thing that's, you know, you can't help but notice about this team too is they're playing with quite a bit of confidence. You know, winning does that. Winning does that. You know, they have reversed their fortunes against a few teams. They had probably a catastrophic loss in the 2011 season was against Toronto. That all but eliminated them the day they lost that game. And they came back and beat Toronto this year, so that was a big turnaround for them. I'm sure that the city of Guelph nearly went on holiday after the victory over Western. I can't even remember the last time that Guelph beat Western. I'm sure it's going back a few years. So they're riding high. They feel good about themselves. They're performing well, and they should be. They've had a heck of a year.
What about your confidence level? Can you read it?
Well, I think our kids are good. Our kids are good. We're still waiting for that breakout performance on offense. You know, that day when everything goes. This team here, however, they pick and choose when they take their chances. Whereas you saw last week we had 2 explosion plays in a row. Okay, we had one to Johnny Aprile where we were unsuccessful, And then on the very next play, Justin Chapelain converts it for a 46-yard. We happened to catch them in the same coverage on both times. This team isn't likely to do that, okay? One of the things that Windsor did was they just pinned their ears back and got after us. They hoped to be disruptive with pressure, and I think at times paid the price for that, which you do. I mean, if you get caught, in a pressure coverage when the right concept's on, the protection is good, or the quarterback just holds the ball long enough, you get an opportunity to make a play. This team here sort of pick and chooses when they pressure. They're more sort of a bend, don't break type team, and keep everything in front, rally, be physical on the receivers, etc. So that's how I would characterize them. However, then they will have a penchant for pressure, though. It's going to be a little bit of a chess game, I would say. You've got to be sharp, you've got to be ready for what happens, and be reactive.
Why don't you tell us about the pin you're wearing?
Well, as I said last week, I mean, my sister is a breast cancer survivor, and we're very cognizant this month that this is the month that's dedicated to breast cancer. So she's very much in my thoughts. She spent her entire career doing good work for people. She worked for the Children's Miracle Network, the ALS Society, the Prostate Cancer Society, and has raised to work for several hospital foundations. So she's been a do-gooder her whole career, and it was a sad moment when she was diagnosed with this disease. But she bounced back, and she's had surgery, and she's moving on now with her career, and she's healthy. I'm happy to say, and so it's in my thoughts today.
And tell us about who you brought here.
Well, listen, Bill is, we've talked about some of the things that have happened with Bill over the last couple of weeks. I'm extremely proud of the way he's handling it. There's a lot of microscope lenses and sharp pencils, that are, have their eyes on him. We understand that. His answer was, he said, well, Coach, that's what I signed up for. So it was kind of the same thing. I mean, what I found with Danny Brannigan, too, there weren't many seats on his bandwagon the first couple of years, but, we had to sort of bring a trailer along at the end. Everybody thought how good he was and all the rest of it. The same people that thought he was incompetent earlier, were his biggest cheerleaders at the end. So, at quarterback, there's a lot of pressure on you. You got to manage a lot of things. I think the quality of defense now in our conference has got extremely good. I think that people disguise things very well. So I think Bill, to be operating at a 60-plus completion percentage is very good. The leading passer in the league is Kyle Quinlan. He's at 69%. Bill's at 62 in his third year. I think he's doing extremely well. You will recall last week too, some of our misfires, were not necessarily the quarterback. I thought the ball was out there pretty good. Just got to get on the same page and in sync. And we've got great athletes at the receiver position, the running back position also, and the offensive line is just coming around. So, I wish I could say when, but it's going to happen.
Thanks, Coach.